All right, well, welcome to chapter 4 of our book, How Successful People Think. You can tell the sun is out. It is bright out here. It is hot. I'll show you. I got my feet in the hot tub. Yes, this is the spot to be. So it helps me get my creative thinking going. But we're going to talk about a little something different today. We're going to talk about realistic thinking. But before we do that, yesterday I had my micro SD card. I'd done all the filming. I'd just gotten back. I was getting ready to stick it in the computer. I was having a conversation with someone, and I dropped the micro SD card into the couch in the beach house. And I could hear it clink all the way down in. Could not find it. We shook the couch, turned it over. I mean, we did everything you could possibly think of. Could not find this micro SD card. So I was about to post yesterday and let you know that we had to do a completely different video on the fly because life is about making the changes that you needed to get what you need to get done. But right as we started to wind down our search, we found the SD card, and you got the video yesterday on creative thinking. So if you haven't watched that one, go watch that one. Today is just a continuation of that in a little bit of a different manner. A few days ago, we talked about kind of zooming out and then zooming in, right? Bringing your thinking out to get those creative ideas and in to get the plan. Here's a little bit about getting that vision narrowed down to say, okay, it can't be all sunshine and rainbows. All right, let me actually set this up with letting you know I used to be very bad at this. When I say bad, I mean very, very bad at this. In my first business, I was the rose-colored glasses guy. I mean, everything was yes. Everything was great. We can do that, we can do that, we can do that. And after a while, it caught up to me. Because one of the things that I had to learn that was not in competition with my creative thinking, but that would help my creative thinking, was this, realistic thinking, because every action has consequences. I didn't really realize that in the beginning. I didn't know that when you say yes to something, you're really saying no to something else. Or when you say no to something, you have the room to say yes to something else. I really didn't think about that, but on page 39, John Maxwell lays this out for us. He says, actions always have consequences. Realistic thinking helps you determine what those consequences could be. So if you're always zoomed out and looking at everything and letting the ideas flood your mind, but you never put a plan in place, you don't ground yourself in realistic thinking, because our choices, well, they affect our path and they affect others who are on the path with us. That is something that I needed to learn. You can't say yes to everything. You have to have a plan. So getting out of the rose-colored glasses in an unhealthy way was something that I needed to do. But one of the consequences of overcommitting ourselves, of running through walls, not knowing what's on the other side, we see on page 41, I think this really stood out to me. It's probably what I needed to hear all those years ago. It says, realistic thinking helps people to buy into the leader's vision. Leaders continually surprised by the unexpected soon lose credibility with their followers. On the other hand, leaders who think realistically and plan accordingly within their positions in the organizations, they win. That gives people confidence in them. That's what I needed to hear. I needed to hear that, yes, I needed big ideas, but I also needed a plan to go with those ideas. And I needed to see how all the different things connected together. The best leaders ask realistic questions before they cast vision. If I had to narrow it down to my problem early on in leadership, it was I did not ask enough questions. I did not ask enough questions. And some of that was because I was afraid to be negative. I was afraid that if I asked tough questions, maybe that's me thinking negatively and not thinking positively. But it's not it at all. One of the things that I put down here in the margin is when you ask what if questions, what if this, okay, then we do that. What if this, we need to have a plan for that. That's not being negative. What that is being realistic. It's being realistic to know that you not only have a vision, but you have a plan to execute on that vision. And everything's not going to go your way. So you need to know what to do when it doesn't go your way. Now, one of the things that helps with this, something that I teach leaders, is something called the G.R.O.W method. Now, this is adapted from coaching. I use it a little bit differently when I'm explaining it to leaders, and usually it's how they're casting vision to their team. Okay, this is going to help ground realistic thinking. So the G in G.R.O.W is goal. It's goal. We've already talked about what a goal is. You can go back 2 days ago and look at what a goal is, but you've got to have a goal. You got to know where it is that you want to go. The R is reality in G.R.O.W. What is the current state? What is the reality that we are in right now? Now, when you have a goal and you have your reality, you're going to establish a gap. When you establish that gap, now you're going to see, okay, here's where we want to be, here's where we are, here's where we're short. That can then help you, and here comes the realistic thinking, identify the obstacles. What's standing in your way? That's the O in G.R.O.W. What's standing in your way right now of getting to that goal? What's keeping you stuck in that current state? And then once you have your goal, your reality, and your obstacles, you can now list out your way forward. What's your plan? What step are you going to take? How are you going to move in the right direction? So I like to set up my goal, set up a realistic look at what's happening right now, and then I like to establish 3 different obstacles that are standing in my way that I'm going to go after, that I'm going to go over, under, around, through, whatever it takes. And I'm going to do that by putting together a plan that leads me forward. Goal, reality, obstacles, way forward. That's the G.R.O.W. method. Helps me keep my thinking grounded in reality. I'm going to leave you with something on page 42 that stuck out to me. If creativity is what you would do if you were unafraid of the possibility of failure, then reality is dealing with failure if it does happen. Dealing with it if it does happen. If the obstacle gets in the way, if it slows you down, how are you going to deal with it? Well, I hope the last 2 days have helped you in being creative and being realistic, to put that together to close the gap on where you are and where it is you want to be. Hope that helps. I will see you tomorrow.